The awakening of eternal consciousness, legacy, wisdom, and the divine ways of life of Atlantis. The echo in the soul's memory. There are moments in the human experience where linear time seems to dissolve, allowing flashes of a vaster and more harmonious reality to emerge from the deepest strata of the psyche. This is not a simple exercise of historical imagination, but an act of spiritual remembrance. When tuning into the frequency of ancient Atlantis, the soul does not evoke an archaeological myth buried by the mud and waves of time. It evokes a state of being, a cosmic order, and a purity of life that resonates as an eternal echo within us. This essay intends to explore the true essence of that golden civilization, the nature of their coexistence, the sacred leadership of Casimiro Poseidon, the mystical function of the great quartz crystal pyramid, and fundamentally, how we can transmute that legacy into a living practice for the dawn of the current era, without falling into the traps of melancholy or obsession with the past. The divine ways of life, coexistence in the frequency of the origin. Daily life at the peak of the Atlantean civilization was structured around a principle that seems almost forgotten today: the perfect correspondence between spirit, mind, and environment. The Atlanteans did not conceive existence as a struggle for survival, nor were their societies based on utilitarianism, competition, or scarcity. For them, physical reality was a direct extension of their level of cellular and spiritual consciousness. They lived in what can legitimately be called the divine ways of life. This implied an existence where movement and stillness, enriching solitude and fraternal communion, coexisted in perfect balance. Work was not an alienating burden, but an act of co-creation and service. The cities, arranged in concentric rings that mimicked the harmonics of nature, allowed vital energy to flow without stagnation. The Atlantean citizens possess a profound understanding of their own etheric biology. They did not mediate their lives through cold or dense tools. Their technology was their own capacity to channel the life force, to communicate from heart to heart through telepathy, and to honor the mineral, vegetal, and animal kingdoms as brothers in evolution. Absolute respect for the sovereignty of the self and the awareness that everyone was part of a single divine fabric were the pillars that sustain the unalterable peace of their everyday life. 2. The sacred leadership of Casimiro Poseidon, power in calm. At the center of this social and spiritual structure stood the figure of Casimiro Poseidon, a ruler whose authority did not emanate from physical force, political control, or hierarchical imposition, but from his immense spiritual stature and his capacity to sustain the energetic greed of his people. Casimiro Poseidon embodied the archetype of the priest king, a guardian of the cosmic order on earth. His government was characterized by a fundamental metaphysical maxim: true strength does not manifest in the turbulence of the storm, but in the absolute stillness of calm. While leaders of the modern era usually operate from reaction, noise, and the demonstration of external power, Casimiro governed from the sanctuary of stillness. His mere presence acted as a stabilizer for the collective consciousness. When he guided his people, he did so by reminding them that the waves of existence have a constant rhythm, a song dictated by the moon and the stars that must be listened to with the eyes of the spirit and not with the physical senses. His leadership was a constant reminder that real power is containment, discernment, and alignment with the source. By teaching that strength is waiting in deep stillness, he instructed the Atlanteans in the art of inner mastery, ensuring that every community decision was born from the purity of the heart and not from the distortions of the ego. 3. The Great Quartz Crystal Pyramid, the beacon of etheric light. The beating heart of the Atlantean citadel was, without a doubt, the Great Quartz Crystal Pyramid. Far from contemporary interpretations that view pyramids as funerary monuments or structures of inert stone, the Pyramid of Atlantis was a living organism, a transducer and condenser of cosmic and planetary energy of colossal proportions. Built with quartz of perfect geometric purity, this sacred structure was located at the central axis of the city's rings. Its primary function was to absorb sunlight, cosmic rays, and the telluric currents of the earth to unify them, elevate their frequency, and redistribute them throughout the entire kingdom. The pyramid acted as a beacon of constant regeneration. Its vibration sustained the perfect health of the inhabitants, synchronized the phases of the moon with agricultural cycles, and opened communication portals with higher dimensions of consciousness. There was no need for cables or mechanical connections. The Atlanteans approached the pyramid and, through meditation and the intonation of sacred arpeggios, tuned their own energetic centers with the crystal oscillator. Within the circumference of this great structure, space and time became flexible, allowing the sages to access the abstract memory of the universe and receive the evolutionary guidelines necessary for the growth of civilization. It was, in essence, an anchoring of heaven on earth, a monument to transparency and light that reflected the immaculate nature of the souls who guarded it. IB. Detachment from the past, the danger of melancholic obsession. When a contemporary soul manages to touch, through astral transits or deep meditations, the indescribable beauty of Atlantis, returning to the current earthly plane, can turn into a painful experience. The contrast between the crystalline fluidity of that era and the density, scarcity, sickness, and conflicts of the modern world often generates what is known as the pain of exile. The temptation then arises to catalog the present as a mandatory nightmare and to take refuge with melancholy in the memory of what was lost. However, the greatest teaching of Atlantean wisdom is precisely detachment and the understanding of universal cycles. Staying attached or obsessed with the past of Atlantis is a spiritual error that stagnates our evolution. The fall of that great civilization, caused by the descent in the planetary frequency band, was part of a great cosmic cycle, a dark night of humanity from which we are beginning to awaken. Longing for the past with sadness drains the energy necessary to act in the present. Atlantis should not be seen as a lost paradise to which we must physically return, but as an archaeological reminder of the spirit that shows us what humanity is capable of when it remembers its divine origin. To obsess over the submerged ruins is to forget that we are the true builders of Atlantis, and that the plane where that wisdom resides is not at the bottom of the ocean, but intact within the deepest stratum of our own being. The true initiate does not seek to relive yesterday. He seeks to actualize eternal truth in the today. B. Bringing the divine ways of life to the current era. How can we, then, honor the legacy of Atlantis amidst the chaos, noise, and distortions of the 21st century? The answer is as simple as it is profound: by learning to bring to daily practice through acts of conscious design and spiritual sovereignty, the fundamental principles they left us. Bringing the divine ways of life to the current era does not require rebuilding quartz temples or isolating oneself from the world. It requires turning our own existence into an altar of coherence. We can start by applying the lesson of Casimiro Poseidon, cultivating stillness in the storm. In a world saturated with information, haste, and mental manipulation, deliberately choosing minutes of absolute silence to quiet the waves of linear time is an act of spiritual revolution. Stillness is our greatest defense and our greatest power. Likewise, we can practice energetic transmutation in our environment. Just as the Great Pyramid condensed light to clear the atmosphere, we can turn our own body and home into high-frequency transducers. This is achieved by maintaining a strict hygiene in what we consume, both at a physical and digital level, protecting our energy from the noise of the ordinary network and seeking self-sufficiency and harmony with the elements of nature. When we unite with others from genuine compassion, when we heal our family relationships by breaking patterns of suspicion and scarcity, and when we use our intellect and technical skills for the common good, we are building the new rings of the citadel. Every time we choose peace over conflict and truth over illusion, we are anchoring the Atlantean frequency on Earth. The legacy is not a static inheritance, it is a living torch that we must ignite in every daily decision. Conclusion. The new dawn of humanity. The story of Atlantis is not a tragedy with an abrupt ending. It is the prologue to a new dawn that is ours to star in. Although the planet's consciousness seemed to fall into misery and oblivion after the sinking of the great crystals, the spark of ancestral wisdom could never be extinguished. It remained protected, pulsing silently in the ocean of abstract memory, waiting for the cosmic moment when humanity would be ready to reclaim it. That moment has arrived. Today, looking at the crisis of the current world, not with frustration, but with the analytical curiosity and discernment of one who understands the great cycles, we can clearly see that the structures of density are collapsing to give way to a new era of light. We are not alone in this transition. The guidance of the ancient masters, the comforting echo of the water that cleanses the past, and the certainty of our own divinity accompany us in every step. The evolution of the human being is unstoppable. By integrating stillness into our walking and expanding our hearts toward universal fraternity, we look up to the horizon with unwavering hope. A new day is being born. The wisdom of Atlantis awakens within us, and this time, the light we ignite will illuminate humanity's path forever.